So awesome we could all be here. I'm really excited for this discussion. And like Maddie said, I'm a little nervous, but I think it'll be good. Just if you guys
what would
talk
make you nervous? I mean, we've been so friendly. Like,
you guys just talk a lot. I'll just ask questions and we should be good.
Hey, as long as you're not making me a harasser like last time.
Oh, come on, Whitney. Come on.
Anything is better than that.
You actually picked it. Oh my God. Oh dear.
All right.
All right.
The first thing we want to talk about is we're talking about the case in general today, but particularly we wanted to vote on the candidates that were given as options for the company to select. So there were 4 options, and the first thing I want to ask is who did you vote for to be the top 2 candidates? And then I want to hear from each of you why you chose those candidates as well. So let's go. Whitney, would you go first?
Yeah, I'm just getting back to the case so I can just have a refresher from yesterday when I read it. Okay, I for sure thought that, who was it? Andy Sanchez would be excellent. Partially because this is what my husband does. And whether you've got A's or C's, you need to be able to sell. And his entrepreneurial spirit, I thought, would be excellent for this position and bring a lot of success. So he was my top pick for this program. Yes, right? That was the right person. C's, yes. Andy Sanchez. C's earned degrees. So, and then my next one was either, I think it was Ken Goldstein or let's see. Oh, dang. I liked Natalia Goldowiska.
I just went with names and I was writing it down because they're just so weird. Yeah. The names are so weird.
Yeah. But I really did like Ken Goldstein specifically because he has a family, even though, yeah, they think that he's not going to be able to devote 100% of his time to the business, but that means he's hungry. That means he's got something that he needs to work hard for. In those positions, you're on a commission basis a lot of the time. You've got to work your tail off. And if he's got a family to feed, that means he's going to work even harder, especially if he's got a wife supporting him that knows, hey, work comes first, because if it doesn't, that means we're homeless. So I liked those 2 for those reasons.
Okay, awesome. Let's go with, let's see here. Connor, who did you think?
I haven't read the case all the way through yet, to be honest.
Okay. Okay, no, that's fine.
So I was trying to do it real quick while Whitney was talking.
Okay.
I didn't quite get through.
Just come back.
Usually I'm long-winded, and that's a good plan. Sorry.
Maybe we should go through. So let's just go with the names, and then everybody can kind of talk about what they thought about each person instead.
Okay.
Would that work better? You guys think?
That works better.
Okay. So with Natalia, who thought Natalia would be good and why? I know I put her as one of my top candidates, specifically because she has a financial background. She's analytical. And they said that she might not be good for the culture because she's kind of a rigid person, but I think that can be worked out. I mean, she has the skill set that's needed, which I think is really important. And a lot of the interviewees thought she would be good, even though a few of them said that she might be kind of rough around the edges. So
yeah,
I thought she would. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you go.
I thought she would be really good. and she is so analytical. I guess I needed more clarification on what the job that they're being hired to do is. Does that make sense?
That's a good point. I don't even think I know.
Because
but
Yeah.
in a firm like that, there's so many different positions. Like you could be an analyst where your job is specifically number crunching, put together portfolios, things like that. And that you need a very analytical person. Then there's also, because they mentioned financial planners, and those people, you need to be analytical and be able to crunch the numbers and be smart and put together awesome portfolios. But a big part of that is selling. You need to be able to sell yourself as a competent financial planner, but also your portfolios. And if you are so analytical, a lot of the times you can't get that across to the client because they're not. Your client a lot of the time is relying on you as a professional to, for lack of a better word, dumb it down to be able to sell it to them. And so I guess I needed more. The reason why I didn't pick her was because I wasn't entirely sure. Maybe my lack of understanding what the position was. I was just using what I know from my husband's job. And I just did she was more analytical and less salesy.
That is true.
Okay, so I see it as, so for Natalia, I'm seeing it as, okay, so I don't know how to word this, but I'm going to put it out there. So if I offend anyone, I'm sorry, okay? It's not meant to that way. So people in, so Poland, Russia, you know, small countries that are financially or job-wise are struggling. So she is from Poland. She came here when she was 22. I feel like she will bring a lot to the firm because she has that, you know, the work ethics that comes with it, because you got to work hard in places like those, like Russia, especially try to make ends meet, Poland, and like even just from my background, like Turkey and Germany itself, right? So I feel that she would be a great candidate for it because she has that mentality of, I got to work hard, okay?
Right.
In order to make it, in order to make sure I put, you know, besides food and clothing on my back or anything, that she has that mentality already since she was growing up.
And it's evident in what she has done.
Right.
Like most of the case talks about what she has accomplished.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's how I feel. So the work ethics is already there and it's very strong.
I agree.
I can agree with that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's
Alex.
fine. I just think she's got a really good work ethic already, and that she's not going to let the company down. She knows what she's doing. And so, like you were saying earlier, they were worried about her people connections, but maybe because she already knows kind of what she's doing, then she can work on that and just be able to not focus on it, but be a little more aware that, hey, you know, the culture is going to be a little something that I need to work on, but she doesn't have to worry and stress so much maybe about the analytical side of it.
And I think another
should be
thing.
good.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and I think another thing, just based off of what everyone said and our previous discussions from a couple of weeks ago, we talked about culture, right? Like different aspects of bringing culture into it. I mean, she's from a different country. She's got a different background, probably in finance than other people, simply because she's from a different area of the world. So she's learned different things, and that's a thing that she can bring to the company that nobody else can really bring, right? So that's another aspect too. Okay, so how about let's move on to Martin. Anybody think that Martin was a good fit, or if not, why not?
So I have a question. There's a section of it for Martin. It says, SG Cohen came to Wharton toward the middle of the recruiting period. So as one banker said, people either really want SG Cohen or they didn't get offers from the firm. Street had told them he was taking several finance courses, but Cohen was not allowed to ask him about his grades. You're not allowed to ask him about grades if you're in HR?
No, it's because of the school.
Yeah, because of Wharton's policy.
So
okay.
Keep reading on from where you were. It says the Wharton had a policy against the recruiting rules.
Okay.
So I think that with Martin, he does seem like a go-getter. He's interested in getting to know many firms, and he was out and about trying to.
Yeah.
It looks like if he has a goal in mind, he's going to do it. Hence the marathon runner. And that he's served in the military. I think he's very outgoing.
Yeah. That's a good aspect too, just because like he could fit well with the culture probably.
I guess the only concern in the case was that he would be playing firms.
That's what I just read. Yeah.
Because he's talking to a bunch of people. So it's like, are you going to work for us? Or are you going to
Go with
see
that.
what you can do from us and
Yeah.
give that?
Huh.
I liked him, but I think he has a lot of great things about him, but I just didn't like that they made it seem like he was so hard to schedule with for the was it for the Super Saturday, things like that. And so it just made it seem like they weren't a priority. So even if you are playing firms against each other, that's fine. And I think everybody should do that if you have the opportunity to. But you need to make them feel like a priority so you get the best deal out of it. You want to keep them interested. And so that's why he wasn't a top priority for me, because we didn't seem like a top priority for him.
Same. He just seemed really unavailable, and that's not a good thing. I mean, they were talking about the guy that's married and worried about him being unavailable, but I feel like he's got way more commitment than this other guy.
Yeah, it seems like his hobbies are more important than his career.
And he doesn't have any business background either. This company seems like it's pretty entrepreneurial based. Like they want people who have been in business to be working for them. So I don't know. For me personally, I thought that he was probably like the last one on my list, but I don't know. So
In his defense, I think he could pick up the business aspect of the company because, you know, he was in the military. He does triathlons and marathons. He has a really good work ethic where I think he could potentially excel once he learned and gained some experience.
So if he had if he got assigned a very good mentor to mold him to the company, for the company.
I think he could do it. Because it said that he had a lot of leadership experience, and maybe that's what the company wants right now. They're not interested in just if you know about business, but if you could really lead someone. So he could do it.
I think it's just a commitment issue at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I really don't doubt his ability to do anything, but it's just does he actually want to?
how about with Ken? What did you guys think? I mean, he's also kind of, we talked about a little bit, his commitment level might be a little lower, but it might be just as good because he is committed to his family and their financial situation as well.
I mean, I think his past performances speak for themselves. I mean, Ken's performance, it says his at PwC, his performance appraisals put him in the top 5% of the firm.
Yeah.
And I don't really see the family as being an issue, but I guess every family is different. It also depends on what his wife is like. If his wife says, I have a headache and you need to come home, that's a different thing. Or if his wife says, all right, I can man it up, a headache is not something you come home for, then it just depends on the family.
I also thought it was interesting how the case, or the people, they talked about his level of maturity, how he could be like too mature, like maybe because he has a family or because he's done all these things, he thinks that he knows what is best and that he won't take orders. I thought it was interesting that they thought about that.
Yeah. Might be a dangerous assumption too,
Yeah, because I also got I got the feeling that it was an assumption though, not that they gave him that feeling. Does that make sense, Adam? Did you get that same?
I agree. Yeah. And it's hard to believe that no other high up manager has a young family in that company. You know what I mean? Like there's probably other people in the company who are in his situation that are doing just fine.
So I feel for Ken, maybe the position is a different position for him available in the company.
So looking for a different position for him?
Right, because so like there's like the last comment. It says it's weird to say this because we always but I almost think that Ken is too mature. If he were on my team, I wonder if he would do what I tell him to do, or if he'll dislike taking orders. So maybe his team is not a good option, but maybe another position, a leadership position is available.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that you are molded into one position. You know, I mean, I'm thinking a company does not have just one position only. I'm thinking they have multiple to be able to fill them.
I guess, but for the purposes of this case, they're trying to fill 2 positions on this in this class of hiring.
Maybe they're trying to hide the fact that they're discriminating because he might
What's
be
that?
Mormon.
Yeah, they are discriminating against family, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they could tell he was LDS because a young family, and maybe he's wearing garments and they noticed it, and they're just hiding it.
Okay.
Well put though. They have discrimination on Natalia too. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to the one we read a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
The guy that had a thick accent.
and especially with Andy, the last one, especially with his GPA, they're kind of discriminating him because he may not come to the fullest, what's what I'm looking for? May not do the best just because his GPA is lower than what they expect.
Yeah, and didn't he explain that his GPA was lower because he's putting his 2 brothers through school, and he created his business to be able to support himself and that his his younger brother's going to run it in his absence. But I could have sworn it said it was something about he was paying for his brothers to go to school.
I remember reading something about that too.
Me too.
But he also had like really high GMAT and SAT scores, so
Yeah.
he's not like unintelligent.
Yeah.
Well, it just
Well,
was,
like-
he studied for the things that were important, that brought results. And, maybe that was wrong, but I was raised with Caesar degrees. You put in the minimal effort to get the result that you need.
It's the last sentence in his section that talks about that he was putting his 2 brothers through school.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think there is something to say with why are you working? What are you working for? And if you're just working to support yourself solely, you can survive on a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
And so you really don't need to work your tail off to make that, make it to that $200 million under management. You don't have to make those huge benchmarks because you can survive on a lot less income. Whereas somebody supporting 2 brothers or somebody supporting a family, you have to make a lot more, and that means you're making the company a lot more.
Yep.
So
Totally.
So it just kind of like I don't know. It just you even see it in everyday life now. Lack of ambition because they just don't have commitments. Like there's just not the same demands as we used to get ourselves involved in.
Yeah. So there's some really good points with all of these candidates. And I found it kind of hard to decide on which one to go with. But what do you guys think would have been helpful? And what do you feel wasn't given in the case that could have been helpful in making a decision on who to to hire. Does that make sense? Does that question make sense?
Well, we already talked about like the qualifications for the specific job. Like
Okay.
we need to know what kind of job we're filling. Because then that would help us, the person who meets those qualifications.
Yeah, because are they being more analytical or are they being more still? I mean, because they even talked about they had junior associates go and do the initial talking with on the college campuses because they knew the job skills required, but they never said what those skills were.
Oh, yeah.
In the case, yeah.
Yep, definitely. Anything else on that front with things that could have been included in the case, or do we think it's pretty much just the job qualifications?
Did they put something in the case like I wanted to see interview questions or kind of like the run out for the day. Here it is.
The appendix, yeah.
Yeah. Just a little bit more of how the Super Saturday works. Because it seems like a pretty professional thing that they do. It's interesting.
So yeah, that's another thing, just how it works.
How it works.
Okay.
Do they ask the same questions? Like, are they looking for a specific person or are they just wanting to get qualifications?
Right.
Because that's basically what we just read in the cases.
Yeah.
Who they are and what they are. Then how do you work in this kind of situation or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, they had 22 other candidates who were selected before these 4, and I thought these 4 were awesomely qualified. So I feel like those other people must have been perfect or something. Yeah. All right. So the next set of questions talks about why do you think there was so much disagreement with regards to like between the senior bankers in the Saturday meeting about which recruits to hire? Was it because of the interview process, the types of interviews that were going on? And is there like a better way that they could have done the interviews for these candidates?
I think it was the weather.
The weather, no?
Yes. I'm thinking that's what it was. It's depressing when it snows outside and the only thought is, I need to get home. Anyway, I'm just joking.
No, it could have something to do with it.
Well,
I think
if you look at it at the bottom where he's what is it? It's the last part, decision time. The last sentence. One banker spoke up, Chip, let's keep this meeting moving. The roads look bad, and it's my anniversary tonight. If I don't get home, I'm in deep trouble. I mean, right there.
So I guess the conflict between them is that some of them really want to go home and the others are like, hey, we need to really think about this.
Yes.
And so they're conflicting. I think another issue communication-wise is, do they know what job they're trying to fill?
Yeah.
We don't. Do they know?
Point.
So
Mhm.
I think if they had better communication of what they were trying to do, then it would be an easy decision.
Yeah, and I think just also if you look at it just in jobs in the church, you've got 2 different bishops. They both do the same job differently.
Mm-hmm.
They have different ways of going about it. And so maybe one associate might be more analytical, whereas another one might and focus more on, all right, here's the numbers that I can bring to you. Whereas another associate might focus more on the relationship and is a little bit more gregarious. And so they're both looking at different pros to fill the same position because they do the job differently. And so that could be a big reason why they're preferable to different candidates. I mean, and they could also be looking for holes on their own teams. Like, because they talked about, would you want to work with this person on your team? They could be thinking, okay, on my team, you know what, I've got a lot of great salespeople, or I've got a lot of really gregarious people. I need a real analytical person. I need an analytical mind. So I want this person. And that maybe, you know, so they all have different goals in mind or different needs to fill their team. So that's probably why they're having a lot of disagreements, because they all have those different aspects running through their mind. Holes they need to fill on their team, or the way they do their job, that they're seeing those traits in other people.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like not really why don't we want them here, but why can't we live without them? And yeah, I can see where that would be hard.
And I think, like, if you look into the reading that we did right before this case, it talked a lot about, instead of hiring the wrong person, a lot of they focused on was not turning away the right person.
Mm. Yeah.
And so maybe it's more about that, making sure, instead of getting the wrong person, making sure we're not letting go of the right person.
Yeah. So where would the line be between, like, we really need this person, but they have this negative mark on?
But that's where all the
Yeah,
discrimination comes from. So what's the line?
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe they should just look through and see, like, what's the actual discrimination? Or are the things that we perceive as being negative, could that actually be a strength in disguise? Or I don't know. Just looking at things differently, having a different perspective.
We'll just be safe.
Sorry, guys, we got kicked off for a sec there. The internet.
Yeah.
So you guys were talking about discrimination with regards to one of the employees?
Yeah, just kind of like if maybe they're seeing a negativity in somebody that really might not be.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think too, I don't think it said anything about these bankers being trained on interviewing. I mean, like, are they in HR, or are they just members of the company who do transactions and they've been asked to interview potential
Someone for
team
their team,
members? Yeah. So maybe they don't know.
And that's what it said in the case. That the guy in HR, he just asked these people to give up a Saturday.
Yeah. Which isn't really good morale for the company. They're like, aside from the fact that it's Saturday and the weather's terrible, like, you're giving up time with your family. Like, people want to get out of there probably as soon as possible. So
the timing should have been different. So instead of picking a Saturday, maybe it should have been during maybe working hours, or so they didn't have to give us up a Saturday.
and maybe spread it
But
out.
then
too.
that's taking them off of their own book of clients, and then that's cutting into their income.
Yeah.
If I was a sales associate, no way, I'm not doing that.
I love Whitney. I really do. I'm too serious.
What?
I'm
Think about it.
honestly, I love it. She's like cut and dry. No way will I do it. Okay.
Well, I think the Saturday's the better option.
I disagree. I kind of feel like no. I don't think Saturday's a good option. I'd rather do it during a work week. I mean,
Yeah.
But then,
on top of that, here's another thing. Why did the boss, or whoever this guy, big dude is, why did he pick people who are not HR?
He probably wanted
because
to. Yeah.
because they're picking the people that they're going to work with on their teams, right?
No, I don't know.
Not necessarily. That's
Well,
not what I
they
read.
have a good opinion that I don't think they're going to be making the decisions. They just have their opinion, I guess.
Yeah, they basically mentioned
Okay.
like that was a question that they should ask themselves. Like, is this someone I want on my team, as a way to evaluate
Oh.
their qualifications? But I don't think that was the like underlying tone.
So
Of
it's
the,
not an actual real life thing.
yeah,
Well, I liked what Adam said, that maybe it should be spread out over a certain period of time. So maybe not take a full work day to do it, but maybe like on Monday, we're going to do this department.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Say
true.
this department. People
Yeah.
who meet qualifications take 2 hours in the afternoon to do like little interviews or something, and then do something different day, so that they're not thinking all about all the positions we have to fill them all, but like, let's take it section at a time. So this department, let's fill those. Then this one. so
Well, they're
that
not
it's
filling
more
different
ordered.
departments. They're filling one round of hiring. It's all for one department. At least that's the way I understood it. It's for a class of trainees or their it's basically the way I understand it's they're hiring their next round of associates. And so this is the class of associates that they're all going to be trained together. So it's not necessarily different departments. These are all going to be financial planners or Cowan associates. They're all doing the same thing.
Okay. Well, here's an idea.
That's the way I understood it.
Well, we can run off with that. Maybe the HR should conduct interviews.
Yeah.
Maybe there should be an event, let's say a luncheon or something, like a 2-hour luncheon when all the contestants go and meet all of the bankers or the people that they're going to be on their team, and they interact with
You mean
those
like
people.
the dinner and cocktails the night before?
So
Yeah.
is that what they did?
Well,
Yeah.
Well, then they should just leave it like that. Obviously, the person is gonna, if they make a good first impression, then that person will want them on their team, and then the HR.
I agree with that.
If you like them. Well, here's their qualifications. We like their qualifications. You like them. Let's hire them.
right.
I was actually
So
thinking
just do
of
it
it
based on
just backwards.
chemistry.
I was thinking like maybe like what you were saying, Winnie or Madeline, sorry, with doing the interview, kind of mixing it up a little bit. I think they've got a good system, but maybe they could tweak it a little bit where it's like they have HR interview first and just take out the obvious people that wouldn't really fit for their company because HR would know. Because that's their job, is to get a good feel for the company. And then they do the dinner after that. And then all business people can meet the smaller group. And that way, I think they get more of a feel for who they're seeing. They have a little bit more time with them, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I agree.
we got it.
Yep.
Sweet. Problem solved, guys.
Nice job, Alex. Nice job.
Okay. So this is something I kind of need some clarification on because when you read these Harvard cases, how sometimes like some stuff sticks in your mind and then some stuff doesn't. I don't know if anybody else runs into
And the
that.
stuff that doesn't is on the test.
Yeah.
Yep.
With some of these questions.
I always latch on to the unimportant information.
So does anybody know who Ray is?
Ray?
She's
In
the captain. That's what I understood. She is the where is this where is it? Oh wait.
Chip Ray, director
He's
of
the director of
recruiting.
recruiting.
Yeah, so sometimes he's his first name, sometimes he's his last.
So she gave a core school strategy, and I think that was like the top 25 schools, if I remember right. What did you guys think of that strategy of selecting candidates from the top 25 rather than just like top 10 as a potential recruiting strategy for these students?
I actually loved that. I loved that because by selecting the secondary 15 schools and eliminating the top 10, because you've got Goldman, Merrill, all of the big wirehouses targeting Harvard, Yale, the top 10 schools.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to compete. It's hard to compete with those big names. When you're thinking about, okay, I'm going to sign on as an associate, it is very, for lack of a better word, sexy to think about going and living in New York. These buildings, you've got everything there. You basically live at work, but your dry cleaning, your gym, everything is in that Goldman building. And your job is to just basically be there and work. And so they make it as easy as possible for you to work. They have car service. It is amazing. And so I don't think Cowan's resources can lure somebody away from that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so they would get secondary students, which are still amazing. You're still getting a Yale or a Harvard grad, which is awesome. But by getting the top tier from still amazing schools. You're still in the top 25 schools. I think you've got better options.
Right, and you're still recruiting like big names. I mean, they're the top summa cum laude, whatever, from that
Hmm.
11
From Cornell. And,
so you're gonna get good students.
mhm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, you're not hiring them just because of what school they come
Right.
from. That's a little extreme. You should hire them because of their talent or what they can bring to the table.
Mhm.
So I think the more schools they get, the better, because then it gives other people opportunities.
I mean, I can understand why companies go after certain schools, because a lot of the times the school does a lot of vetting for the company. By getting into the school and applying and all that stuff, you've got the whole application process that the school went through and says, okay, the school, I've got my stamp of approval on them. All right, well, great. I can cut that vetting out of my hiring process. And so I think that goes into another process of the hiring, where it's like, all right, well, they made it through Harvard or the top 10 vetting process. Well, great. I can pick up from that point and take it through my hiring process. As far as competency and things like that. That's not to say that there aren't amazing people from other schools. I think that's just kind of where it comes from. You have a stamp of approval. Just kind of like whether by being LDS, by saying I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, people automatically assume that I live by a set of standards, whether I'm active or not, whether I'm a good person or not. You know, I could be a terrible person. Doesn't mean I'm not a member of the church. Does that make sense?
You're a
But
harasser, remember?
Exactly. So I think
What was that? What did Connor say? What did you say?
he said I'm a
I reminded her
harasser.
that she was a harasser.
Okay, so
Thank you for that, Sybil. Forever, I will be the harasser in this group.
oh my god. Oh my gosh. Who would like to replace me for the next team leader? Okay, Alex, it's your turn.
But by going to certain schools, you automatically have that stamp of approval or that opinion locked onto you. Does that make sense? Similar to us as members of the church. People assume things about us because we're a member of the church, whether we are good members or not.
Right.
Good point. Definitely.
So
Cool. So I think we're
sorry,
all
that
kind
might have taken us on a completely different tangent.
No, it's relatable.
Yeah, we need to.
Yeah. So I think we're kind of all in agreement that like you shouldn't just pick from the top 10 schools because you're missing out on a lot of talent. And that kind of brought me to the thought as well. Should they just be recruiting students at this stage? Like, is that a little too narrow as well? Maybe not, because they are associates. But yeah, just a thought.
Well, at least in the case it said they're just filling the last 2 spots. The rest of the spots in this class they got from interns, other
Junior analysts.
Yeah, junior. They're just filling the last remaining 2 spots from this group of people.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay. So then a couple other things, because we're just about done. Do you think that there would be better ways to structure the on-campus interviewing recruiting?
Could they have a representative on campus?
What's that?
Are they
Put a
talking about?
representative on campus?
Yeah, is that the part that they're talking about? Because they had representatives.
So when I worked at Putnam, what they had well, hold on. How did it work? They had recruiters come to the company. So I don't know if this is the same thing. Do they go to the company or have the alumni go to their company? I can't remember.
Okay.
I don't know.
To certain schools, they had people go to the schools
Oh, okay.
to start. What?
So what was the question?
Do you think there would be better ways to structure the on-campus interviewing and recruiting? That was the because I
Because
guess
they're having people who are part of the company that graduated from that school
go there
to go and recruit.
So maybe not necessarily people from that school because that seems like bias, doesn't it? Maybe a little bit.
Oh, it's like our P2B.
Oh, that's true.
Why not mix it up? Why not send somebody else to that particular school that this person did not graduate from?
I think it could be, I think either or. I think it's good to have a variety. You're like, hey, this is my alma mater.
It's good for the school and it's good for the company.
It's part of the company that I'm in and I love it. This could be up for you. So I don't know. I think it could.
Maybe they go in teams. Maybe like a recruiter who graduated from that school goes with a recruiter from a different school. That way you get the aspect of
Both.
both.
The rivalries.
Ohio State, Michigan, Harvard, Yale.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I actually really liked the way that their whole recruiting process worked, because I liked the idea that nobody wanted to send somebody to Super Saturday that would reflect poorly on them, and so they had sort of something to prove, and so they really dug in and made those interviews hard. And so I actually liked the whole process, like of going to the schools and they narrowed it down from a huge pool of students to just a handful at Super. We're negotiating on 4 people.
4 people, yeah.
And so I thought it was actually quite effective. And so I liked their process, and I thought it was great because then you're getting a lot of different people's opinions, even though they're not in HR. But then you're also giving the recruits a realistic view of what they're getting into, because the job, if it's what I'm assuming it is very difficult. It's not an easy position.
Yeah, it's rigorous. The recruiting process is really rigorous. And I think that's an important thing to look for as a potential employee, is how rigorous is the recruiting process like that you're going through? How seriously does the company take your employment as you're making the decision to become a part of a company? I think it might have mentioned that in the case, but I don't know. That's something I'm going to pay attention to as I get ready to graduate. So, yeah. Okay. You guys have any other thoughts on that?
Where do you want to work, Adam?
Good question. I guess right now I don't know yet. I'm applying to a lot of different companies, and part of me wants to start a business, but I don't think I'm ready for that yet.
Okay.
So, yeah. So
What are you graduating in?
Finance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I still have to do an internship, but I'm walking this semester, and then
Same.
Where did you apply? What companies did you apply?
I've applied to Goldman Sachs. I've applied to Master Brand, which is a Fortune 500 in Indiana. It's like everybody knows about it. I'm thinking about reapplying to Vanguard down in Arizona.
For an internship?
Both.
For both.
Yeah. And then there's a couple of smaller companies I've looked at too.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see.
Goldman's intense. So
Goldman?
that's
What's that?
awesome.
Yeah.
Goldman's intense, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
really awesome.
It is.
hmm
We'll see. We'll see. I'll let you guys know for sure. I'll let you know.
Let us know.
I'll let you know how the recruiting process is too.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so just to wrap up really quick. Let me see. What did you learn about recruiting from our reading, and then what did you learn about hiring?
It's a long process.
It is.
Yeah. Almost that there's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way.
I like the idea of getting to know someone and giving them that opportunity to interact with people that they would be working with. I like that because then it's not really hard on the person when they go in their first day and it's like, I don't know any of you. I don't know what I got myself into. But I think it's good. And it actually ties into the next week's case study, and it talks about like the training. And if you've done a really good job recruiting, then the training's going to come a lot easier. And I like the case. I looked at it.
So from the reading that I did previously, so there's 6 things that that paper from Harvard was telling. So anticipate, identify, develop, assess, close the deal, and integrate. I like anticipate first because you want to know what you're feeling. Be specific. Make sure you have all that information before you start your interview. You got to have that down pat. Because if you're kind of wishy-washy because you don't know what you're feeling and which way you're going, then it's not going to help. And I think that's what Whitney was saying. You know what team you need to hire into, but know it for sure. And then the other one I like is once you get to that point, let's say you hired it, you closed the deal, you shared your passion, you acknowledged, and everything. Now the part that I like for the hiring is don't stop once you close the deal. Go further, meaning integrate, meaning first few months, check up on the recruit, right? Assign a new recruit a mentor. Don't just let them hang in. That's going to be like, I don't know you guys. Here I am, and I have no introduction, no nothing. I barely know where the bathroom is, right? And then if you're having a meeting, in the meeting, ask if the recruit is getting enough support, either from HR or from your team leader or from your manager. So those are the things that I like about the interview process and then the hiring process itself. Because once we are hired somebody, sometimes you forget that there's more to it afterwards.
Right. It's like,
Sorry.
So I was gonna agree with you. In like missionary work, you don't just teach someone until they get baptized. Like they need to.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So maybe, when I'm hiring, once I'm an HR rep, I don't know. Maybe I have to think about missionary, right? I'll get them to the point to baptize, and then I'm assigning them a calling, right? so they have to do a calling. I think there's some companies out there, they forgot the part afterwards for the support. And I noticed that at Walmart. Working at Walmart for 8 years, I did a lot of hiring, but I noticed a lot of managers never went back to the employee they hired to check up on them or to find out how are things going. Are you going the direction that you want to go? Do you like where you work? Do you want to transfer? What are the things that you want to accomplish? But once you hired that person and they put it into the system, they're forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the part. That's where you also have, I think, if that big turnaround, right? The company, the recruiter will say, nobody cares that I'm actually here and breathing and doing the job because nobody actually asked, so how are you doing?
Yeah. Just the follow through. I think that's a really good point to make, and something that we can all take away from this is just make sure if you are in that situation of recruiting that you don't give up on
absolutely
an employee, whether they get hired or not. I mean, I've still got people. I interviewed with Vanguard before and didn't get the job, but people have still reached out to me, you know, and so. Like, don't give up because you don't know what that person could still bring to the firm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks, guys. I think this is a good discussion. I don't know